Hey, this is the one before the last objective, camera access. The last two objectives are closely tied together. We're going to use the same infrastructure, same or similar kind of tooling. And the first one is just 3 out of 5 Christmas trees. It's more... The difficulty of this challenge is more to get to know the environment, figure out how things are connected together. And then the last objectives is going to take that one into the next level, and we need to modify, tinker with things. Here we're just really going to use the interface of this nanosat framework. So let's see how this challenge looks like. So we left off with the speaker access control system. We managed to open the door, and now we can walk right through this door. Figure out the controls again. So when we enter, we're going to end up in the Cape Cosmic Island fence, but inside the fence. So this is allowing us to look at this telescope. This telescope doesn't do much, I think, aside from providing access to maybe a little Easter egg. We can see one satellite here. We can zoom into this satellite, and currently it doesn't do much. So that's all. We can zoom in all the way. This satellite has some pretty aggressive things, so it seems like it is armed with missiles. And this is going to be part of the last challenge, really. The challenge itself, however, is within the fence, within this weird looking building. Oh, not behind the building. So we need to walk inside the building, where we're going to see a bunch of controls. We have here Wombly. We have this little creature here. His name is Henry. We'll talk to him shortly. I also discovered while preparing for this challenge that there is a little Easter egg here. So I didn't notice this poster here. If you look closely, it says Hackspace, I believe, Hackspace Con. So if you go here, this is the poster here on the wall as well, or at least a similar one. This is probably not the same exact poster, although it looks like it. Yeah, it is the same exact poster. So this is some conference on hacking any space mission related infrastructure. And for this challenge, there is a talk. Let me just see what's the easiest way to jump to talks. Probably like this. So there is Introduction to Space System Vulnerabilities that I do recommend listening to. It is from Henry. Yes, that's not a coincidence that the presenter for these talks and the creator of the last two challenge is also called Henry. So this little creature is basically his avatar, I think. Not sure if that qualifies as an Easter egg, but I think it's fun, and this little creature is super cute. The challenge will also provide us with one hint. If we do the dialogue with Wombly, we get this hint here. He talks about the supervisor directory for the satellite. So this is one of the hints, but we also going to get pretty detailed instructions on how to connect to the satellite system. Probably, well, we can talk to Henry. He's just going to tell us that his job is to build satellites with personalities, and now all those satellites are telling dad jokes to their users. We also have here this door. This is, again, I think it's more just for the Easter egg and for the narrative. We can give it a go. So just like the satellite, this will display different things depending on where we are at with the narrative. So you can see here the satellite with the missile, planet Earth over there. We also saw the sun that will have a significance in the next challenge. So far so good. There's also this nanosatomatic, which provides us a free sample. Oh, and now I'm kicked out from Holiday Hack Challenge for some strange reason. Okay, let me try to fix that one super quick. I was afraid that this is going to happen, but you know, this is not a good video without a blooper. So there we go. Sometimes this happens, especially when they do some updates on the systems, and you see that all the achievements are getting reset, so to speak. So we downloaded this zip file here, which contains a Docker with a Docker image that we can build. And this contains all the necessary tools to solve this challenge and also the next one. So I'm just going to extract it into a folder. And the other place where we find a lot of useful information is the README. Just grab this one in here. So this is a markdown document. Tells us how to start up the container, how to configure the VPN, and then how to connect to the nanosat framework. There's also a reference here for the nanosat framework here and how to test it. There is a CLI tool that I have not used. It looks pretty interesting, and this one also has a camera portion. Potentially this could be something useful. I solved the challenge without using this. I might check it later how this looks like. It might be easier to take a picture and define an output file, so that looks interesting. I took an alternate route, and I think that's interesting how you can capture traffic. These tools use something called mul-TCP, and this protocol is in the clear, so you are able just to capture the network traffic and then reconstruct the image from that traffic. I'm pretty sure the CLI tool works as well, I'm sure some of the players used this one. So just for your reference, this CLI tool can be also interesting. It is included with the jar files, as I figured it out with the next challenge when I was solving that one. For this challenge, we don't really need that one, and I didn't even realize that it's there until I looked at the jar files when I was hunting for information for the final challenge. I'll mention it over there. So what we need to do is we're going to take this Docker configuration and build a container. I used Ubuntu, so I have a VM here. I already have the client container files over here, caps off, and we are going to use just this shell script to run the container. So I can do build and run sh. Need privileges for that. And this is explained here that it's basically just running the build and the run command here. Now, if you just want to run the container after building it, then you would just use basically this one. But I want to show you how it looks like when you're building this for the first time. It will take significantly longer, so it takes about 5-6-ish minutes, depending on your speed, system speed. But eventually you will have all these messages, and don't worry about these messages related to session screen. So it is running a VNC server, and this is just for the VNC. If you see these error messages, it's actually a good thing, because when you do not see them, my experience is that you won't be able to properly connect to this container. Now, the other thing that I'm looking for here is the name of the container. interesting. So usually the container name is also printed out here. I'm not sure everything worked correctly, so you can always give it a go a second time and just make sure everything is running smoothly. Oh no, I was mistaken. So this is, I believe that's the container ID. It was just looking a bit weird. I'm gonna take note of this one because I want to connect to this container. We should be able to also run VNC. There are multiple options to do that. One is to, let me just go to that portion for my notes. So you can connect to this container by using some sort of VNC client. The documentation recommends Vinegar. You can also just use no VNC on the in the browser and just use that one. Let's see. So you should. Gonna cd to my home folder here, so you should be able to run netstat and see the, I want to just zoom in and see the VNC is now forwarded here. And if you go to localhost, no VNC is going to be listening here. And you can just connect to no VNC. I'm not sure if that's the best option. I think using a VNC client like Vinegar is probably a better option. And if you see a fully blank screen and it doesn't react to anything, then just rebuild the container again and it should solve it. For the first time building it, I had this problem. I just rebuilt the container and it was working fine. Now this container runs Fluxbox, which is a bit different from most desktop managers. It's a very, very lightweight, probably one of the lightest desktop managers out there, but the way it operates is a bit different. So everything is under your right-click menu here, all the applications, all the shortcuts. So if you click here in the lower left corner, you just see some settings related to the toolbar, but you won't be able to see the applications. Now here we have satellite tools, so I'm just right-clicking here on the desktop and satellite tools will pop up first here. You also have applications. I want to run Wireshark here. Actually, I want to do that later after the network configuration. And we're also going to do a little trick. I'm going to connect to the shell of the container so I can create a file and easily copy paste into it, because here it's kind of cumbersome to copy paste things into the VNC session. So what I need to do at this point is, let me just zoom out a little bit. So I would like to connect to this container. I can do that using docker exec and then run, for example, a bash shell. I just need the container ID here. Provide my credentials, and now we are inside the container. The other thing that we need to set up here is the backend. So everyone has their unique backend. This is on this big panel, which is the Gator or Gate XOR interface. So this is really just for the backend infrastructure. You're not supposed to tag this service. It is just for you to set up the infrastructure. This is with time travel, and then collapsing it. And it will print out messages on the screen. The reason why we're running this is because we need to set up the VPN connection. So this is detailed in the WireGuard how-to here. You do not need to use the container here. You can just install WireGuard tools and your host system and then connect to it directly. But then you will have to set up also the client-side satellite tools. So I think it's just easier to use it with the container. So we have here the container, and I'm going to paste the configuration that we're getting. It will take a couple seconds to generate it. I'm going to take note of the configuration here. So do not use the configuration in the readme.txt. This is just for sake of the example. And then we're going to start off the VPN interface. We should be able to connect. Probably should have done this one first, but it only takes a few minutes. And then we are going to be good to go. There it is. So when it says timeline reverted, so there's some fun little messages here about like this being a sort of time machine here. Then you will have the server-side configuration file. This is really not something that you need. That's the part that we need. So that's your configuration here towards the bottom. And then you can use this within the container or wherever you want to have it. So I'm just saving this. And if you check the interface details, you are not going to see WireGuard out of the box. So you will have to configure this and then bring up the interface, which is the next thing that I'm going to do. I can just find it in my notes. Right, IPA. And here the README at the very end talks about a NanoSat framework. So we saw already the documentation for this one. And this is where we need to connect. Now, this one already gives us the supervisor directory provider address, and it should be on 10.1.1.1. Now, if you want to ping 10.1.1.1, okay, ping is not installed, so you can install it real quick with just installing iputils ping. And I think it's a good idea to check it before you get into any of the traffic capture or camera image capture steps. So this one responds to our pings. That's a good sign. I am very, very happy with that one. So what we need to do now is I'm going to open up notes txt file here just to make my life a little bit easier. And I am going to copy here this address. I'm going to save and exit so I get back my little shell here. I'm going to open up another shell for later. And then here I should be able to get to applications, office, and then open this text file, and I can copy this way into whatever application I want to copy things into. Under applications, I also would like to start off Wireshark. So again, with the CLI tools, it's probably easier to snap that camera picture, but we're going to do a different route because this allows me to introduce an oldie but goldie tool, which is called TCP flow. So when you capture, make sure that you do not capture on Ethernet. You can see some traffic generated, but we really want to be monitoring the VPN interface, because on ETH0 that's going to be all encrypted traffic. So make sure that you pick the WireGuard interface here within Wireshark. And then the last thing we need is the satellite tools here. So this is a Java-based application. It is not pretty, to say the least. Yeah, and I need to copy the provider address from here, from the file. And if you fetch the information for this provider, it will add it to the provider list, and we can also see all the services available for this. And then we can connect to the selected provider. Now, we can already see that there's a camera service here, and I wonder if we can see, yeah, we can already see the URI address. Yeah, this interface is a little bit cumbersome to use. So we could just use the camera supervisor address here, but let's discover a bit the Nanosat supervisor provider here. Because when we connect to it, we're going to end up here in the app launcher service, and we see camera and also missile targeting system. So missile targeting system will be pretty important for the next challenge. So if you paid attention while you're exploring this interface, for the next challenge, you will have a much easier time because you already know where to go. And this interface also gives us some debug messages, which again will be super useful for the missile targeting system. But we want to run the camera service. And I'm not even sure if you're not running this service first, if you can actually connect to it. So let's run the app. And at the very bottom, we're going to have one message, which is the provider for the camera application. So I'm going to take this one here, and then that's pretty much all that we need on the Nanosat Supervisor framework. You can explore other tabs here, but I'm gonna go back to here, the directory service URL, and then fetch information for the camera service. I'm not sure why the other provider disappeared now, but it's what it is. Connect to the selected provider will give us the camera interface. So now we're going to interact with the camera. And then the next thing here is let me just think for a second. Yeah, so parameter service is probably the one that I want to look for just as debugging. So out of the box, there's no parameter service running. So these parameter services are periodically going to be refreshing and querying a parameter for that service provider. In this case, the camera app. So this has two services, two parameter services, number of snapshots taken, and then the actual snapshot image. This will just show the first part of the base 64 encoded string. I think it's a good idea to enable generation for these two, because they will provide us debug information, so number of snapshots taken, for example. Now in the background, Wireshark is capturing traffic tirelessly. It's probably a good idea to modify here the layout a bit. So I do like to change the layout into this second option because here, as you can see, the protocol is just going to be recognized as TCP. I'm not even sure if Wireshark has a decoder to mul-TCP. We can check it with the capture that I saved. So when we're going to snap a picture, it will generate tens of thousands of packets, messages that are sometimes going to be retransmitted. This VPN connection is not super stable, and TCP retransmission will occur a lot while you're doing the capture. So it is a little bit tricky to do it this way. Maybe the CLI tool is easier. I'm not sure. Probably you also have to wait forever to capture everything. Taking a snapshot image as just capturing the traffic will take probably 5 to 10 minutes. And I would imagine the camera CLI tool being faster. So you have to be very, very patient to capture all the packets. And this will have some difficulties in the reconstruction part, but it is possible to carve out the image from a Wireshark capture. And I want to show that one because I think it's interesting to learn about these things instead of just using some CLI tool. What I'm going to do next is, as you can see, I haven't taken any snapshots yet. Another action service, there's a base 64 snap image option here. Now, if I submit this action, there you go, and I go to publish parameter values, you can see the first portion of this base 64 snapshot image, and now this parameter changed to 1. In the background, we will see Wireshark capturing a ton of base 64 encoded data. So you can see here, it's a huge base 64 data, and we're already at, well, I'm gonna say 30 4,000 packets plus, and this will end up somewhere around like, I believe it's something like 65,000-70,000 packets, depending on how many retransmissions you have. My capture ended up being a bit over 100 megabytes. Now the picture that is being transferred is a little bit less than 20 megabytes. So if you think about it, that doesn't add up really. And I was kind of surprised. Maybe I clicked multiple times on the snapshot image when I was doing the attempts, but I only reconstructed one TCP stream with one image there. So it is mostly because of retransmission. So this connection is not super stable, and it requires TCP to work really hard to get the data to us. So I'm gonna leave this one running in the background. We don't really care about this much. I'm going to jump here because this takes 10 minutes at least to capture, even more. So I don't want to waste time here, but I do have here a PCAP capture, and this is 113 megabytes large. Now, if you look at the conversations, you would think that maybe, the different actions are going to be in different TCP streams, but no, they're not. So here I have basically one stream that is over, let me just see if I can, I'm able to zoom in here. Let's see if I can change this one, conversations. No, the conversations are, they just want to be very small font. So I'm telling you, you can probably not see it well, but it's 111 megabytes here for this first TCP session. And the second one is almost negligible. So everything here is running in this one channel. And here on the sidebar, you can see the many retransmissions occurring. So this is taking a while, and I had a little bit shy of 65,000 packets here. So you might say like, okay, cool, but we have it in Wireshark. So I can just go right click, follow TCP stream. I think this will eventually work, but here in the bottom, and this is teeny tiny, so you can probably not see it, I started reassembling the session. We can see the client and the server messages here in the clear, and then it's just the base64 blob, and it's still being reassembled. So we are at 400 packets out of the 65,000 packets. I don't think this is a good use of your time just to leave it there and wait until Wireshark does the reconstruction. It is certainly feasible, but it will take forever. So I'm not sure if this is really an approach that scales well. Instead, you might have the idea that, oh, it's just base64, so I'm gonna run strings on it. So because of the retransmissions, this will not work. You might get like a portion of the picture, but it will fail eventually, and it will fail miserably. Talking from experience, I didn't take into account the fact that this is a VPN connection, and I might face reconstruction. So I resulted into a really cool little tool, which is called TCP Flow. So here I do have my capture file, and what we're going to do is we're going to use TCP Flow on this file. So TCP Flow is just going in there and reassembles TCP sessions. So the tool is going to provide us the unidirectional reassembled flow, which is very helpful for our case because we just care about the server to client direction to reconstruct this image, and it's going to write it into files. And it's done, like it's already done with the stream reassembly. So it's a very fast, very handy little command line tool. I don't have to deal with the GUI overhead of Wireshark, which apparently has a kind of slow TCP reassembly function. And I can just see based on the size that this is the flow that I'm looking for. This is from 10.1.1.1. So the file name structure follows IP address and port notation. So from this port, which was the camera app port, goes to 10.1.1.2, which is my I believe it's my containers. Oopsie. It's my container's address. Yep, it is right over here. All right, so this is the file that I want to look at, and then I can run ahead against this just to check where approximately my transfer starts. It's definitely not at the beginning, so if I do a tail on it, it seems like that towards the end I do have more the base64 image. So what I did here is I just directed this into a file called tcpflow.txt, and we still need to massage this one a little bit. So let me just show you how you can kind of figure out what part of the first couple of bytes you need to get rid of, and then get to the meat part of the reassembled flow. So I'm just trying to here guess how many bytes deep down I need to go, and I discovered that somewhere around like 200 lines. So this is counting lines at this point in the XXD output, somewhere around in 200 lines. I do see the base64 starting here. So this is at offset BD0. We can quickly grab our handy little calculator and enter, what is it, BD0, which is decimal 3024. I do see here that this starts at the second byte here, so this would be BD01, and that means that I need +2, so I need to start at 3026. Tail has a really cool little option. If you provide the number of lines with a plus, then instead of counting from backwards, it counts from the beginning, skips those lines, and provides you the rest. So, and you can do -C for characters. So this is basically gonna be number of bytes. And then I am just checking if the start is really where I want it to be. And it looks really good, right? So this is exactly what we saw. So I'm going to direct everything into the fixed portion. And you can use another binary save tool, so you don't need to use head and tail and these tools. You can just use, for example, VI or VI improved. But I find these ones for this lodge file a bit easier to manage. So at this point, I should see TCP flow in base64 without all the headers. So let's see what happens when I direct it into base64 decoding. And I'm going to ignore all the issues that base64 might run into. I think it's just one continuous line, but it might complain. And it says invalid input, but we do have here a camera picture, which is, if I do human readable on just the camera, let's do the camera.jpg here, then it is that 17 meg file, says that it is a JPEG image. And if I go to Nautilus, I actually see the thumbnail displayed here. So what you would need to do, and this is what we're looking for, so we snap the picture, and the task here, I'm gonna close this one for now. So the task here was to access Jack's camera and see what is the third item on Jack's to-do list here. So what you would do is you would just wait for the capture, which I think it might have finished. No, it's still running. So you need to wait until the very end of the capture, because it's still running. I think we're halfway through here, and then save this PCAP file, and then you could do the reconstruction. Or, as I mentioned, you can give it a try with the CLI tool, take a picture, and I think if you define the output file with a -O, you should be able to get this one through the CLI tool as well. You can set the resolution. Maybe if you set the resolution to a lower one, then you can get it faster. So feel free to explore the CLI tool. If you have a command and you use the CLI tool to solve this challenge, put it in the comments. I would be interested to see how that is done. I'm going to check after recording these videos some of the write-ups and see maybe someone used the CLI tool for the camera picture. For me, this method worked. It was a bit more cumbersome than it was probably intended to, but it allowed me to explore a bit more the application itself, which is very handy for the next challenge. All right, so we just need to zoom in a little bit here and grab the third item. So Jack already managed to get Santa to move to Geese Islands. Place geostationary satellite above islands, and then conquer holiday season. And that's the last thing that Jack wants to do here. So I'm going to paste him the challenge solution submitted, and then we get our achievement and the challenge solved at this point. Next one is going to be missile diversion, 5 out of 5 Christmas trees. That's it for this challenge. I think it was really interesting to work with these tools, and in the next challenge, which is the final challenge, we get to use some of the backend functionality, interact with the backend even more. It was a really interesting challenge, so make sure that you check that one out as well.